Well, you've seen the communication I've had with the customer, and I believe that's what happened. Doesn't answer the questions though, does it? How did this car run without that fuse and then stop? Flipping out, that's a magical trick, that is, isn't it? Absolute magical trick. So what I've started doing is remember I said there was something about the radio. I've got to look at something which went wrong, and as the customer said, the radio wouldn't stop turning off again, and it's having to think. So so to actually get the radio working, you put the key in the ignition and the radio lights up. Okay, now what I have done is I've checked all the wiring. It's got canvas running it, so canvas is the only thing that's firing this up, because this has 12 volt feed 24/7 coming through here, so it must run a very low voltage into here, and as soon as you take the key out there, it goes out. So I'm happy with the wiring here. I can't find anything to prove it, but that ain't gonna help me, is it? It doesn't. What's the magical trick am I missing here? What is the common denominator that this car could run without a fuse, which it cannot do? So, and as you remember, F2, which come from down there, goes into this relay, and there's our F7. F7. What is? See, the power's got. It can only go, and it clicks into there. Well, obviously this is being pulled over, but it never had F7. So where did the power come from to go through here and go to that fuse? Where? And this is all our keys and stuff like that. And I'm thinking, what the hell are you missing? You've checked the wiring. There's no chafes. There's no nothing. What are you missing? And to be honest, it then came to me, so I thought, right, okay, let's check power and grounds to the radio. So I've checked the power and grounds over to there, and they're not really anything to do with it. So I thought, well, hold on, let's have another look for just a common denominator. So engine in there, so let's have a look. What we got? So I had a look down, and then I looked at this F8 audio navigation, and this here is the one that powers the radio. F8. I've heard that's close to something. Now, remember the wiring was wrong in the actual radio. Now I could be wrong here. There's F8 and there's F7, which is very loose. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this out. I'm just going to take it out for fun, because it's the only thing that makes sense of why the radio could have stayed on and he had the problems with the car. It also makes sense that some bright spark also could have thought, if I remove that 40 amp fuse, the car runs alright. As I say, you've got to think right out of the box, you really do. Well, when someone else has played with it, but that might not be the problem. But I want to have a look underneath there, because it's the only thing that can power up F7. So let me strip it down and we're going to have a look. Okay, it's one thing about this job, it's never short of disappointing. Right, I've taken the fuse box apart. This is what it is inside. I was hoping to see some sort of like melting or something going on inside. I mean, that's the fuse for the radio, and I mean, I've given it a wriggle, and what's meant to happen is it's meant to do that. So, and that's, I've given it a wriggle. There's no way that can touch that, and this is the fuse that's missing. But I have found another one now where I might have found my 40 amp fuse, which was here, and somehow someone's put it in the wrong place. This is the problem when you don't play with cars straight away. But I've stripped it apart, it didn't take long. But at least now I can cross off, and somehow I've got to find out how F7 got power with no fuse. Yeah, perhaps it's one of them new what is it, power supplies, Wi-Fi or Bluetooth. It could have done it that way, couldn't it? No, being silly now, aren't I? Right, I'm just getting down from my disappointment. Okay, well at least I know it's not this. Move on. Put it back together again. As I say, it didn't take long, not really, not to test it. At least I can eliminate it, but somehow I'm going to have to test that wire all the way, and then I'm going to have to interrogate. Okay then, I thought I'd add this. Well, did I find the reason for the missing fuse and the car not starting? And this is the scenario of how it all played out. The radio was the problem. For some reason the can goes wrong and he can't turn it off, and somehow he's got to turn it off. So what does he do? So one thing I have learned is, going back, did I learn anything from the taking the fuse box apart? Yes, I did. What was next to the fuse box? Next to the fuse that was missing? Radio. While I was taking the actual fuse box apart, I did find the F40, the 40 amp fuse, which we thought was disappeared. It was in the auxiliary heater socket. Sadly, this car hasn't got an auxiliary heater, so that's where my 40 amp fuse went. I've made my mind up what I was going to do, and I'd already made my mind up now. This is no magical trick. This is nothing. This is facts and figures. So I need to talk to the best scanner there is, and I need to talk to the customer. Now, talking to customers, you've got to be quite careful. Otherwise they can get cagey. They think they're going to tell you the wrong thing, or they don't want to tell you the wrong thing. Luckily in this case, Jack, you were a lifesaver and you told me everything I needed to know, and that makes my job so much easier. Great customers. Yes Trev, this is what's happened, this is how I've gone it. And I'm going to show you now how the missing fuse, or should we say two fuses, because someone had to go, and we'll work with that. Okay, but at least now I can give the car back, and I'm happy I can give the car back, knowing I've actually solved the problem properly. So this is where we got to. Now this is where I spoke to Jack. That's my missus. She ain't gonna love me putting it on, but who cares? So, hold on. You don't need to see that. That's serious stuff, innit? So, we're talking to Jack, and as I say, hi Jack, how did this car get into the situation of not running? Now, this is the first time I got hold of him, which is Wednesday after I found the fault. He says, it just happened whilst I was at work. I drove into the yard in the morning and it was fine, and it wouldn't start when I got back. Well, that explains, explain later. Still needs for a couple of days. Now, I didn't ask the question, did I? I said, how did this car get in this situation of not running? I didn't have any other questions to ask, and I didn't have the right questions to ask. So Detective Trev, I used to want to be a copper, but I was dyslexic and my grammar was no good. They reckon I can get in there, but it's not going to happen. So Wednesday it's got, can you give me the story on the radio, sir? How long since they finally fixed the problem? And then it got fixed last December, and they told me it was a problem with the wiring. Okay, so, and I believe that's something to do with the canvas or whatever it is, and I don't want to get involved with this because this is someone else's problem. This is what caused all these problems by mucking about. But it did turn around and say where the radio wasn't turning off with the engine, and it was only 1 or 2 days from that happening to when the car stopped working. Again, he ain't said he's touched any fuses, has he? Okay, thank you for that, and I'm still working on it. Okay, now I'm going to, as I say, I'll make the video on it, and I'm covering myself as I'm going. Right, this is yesterday. This is where I've actually got the full the full story, and I've got, okay Jack, to find the reason why this car broke down, because I know now why. First question, when was the radio wouldn't turn off, and how did you turn it off? This was the 2 days before it broke down time. And then what I wrote is, you got to ask nicely. Then they say, make them as though they're helping you. When the car broke down, has anyone been under the bonnet or touched anything under the bonnet? Okay, they're due to start. All right, and then obviously Jack's coming back. He wants to help me out, doesn't he? Good man. And this is what I need, more customers like this. It says, I just turned it off on the touchpad and it wouldn't let me turn it back on. And yeah, my friend was looking at stuff under the bonnet, and I'd taken a fuse out which had worked last time, but I wasn't sure I'd taken the right one out. So he was trying to figure out where they went. Now, it could have something to do with the lambda sensor why this didn't start, but I just can't see it. I can't see it. Okay, we're going to test as I think there's a broken wire here. So I've set up my Power Probe 3000, which is on 12 volts there and there, and you have a like a, I don't know, handheld thing which is on high sensitivity. So what you do is you check it. If you have a look, I'm just running it along the wire that it comes with, and then I'm going, as you can see, the power with the, so that tells you that the terminal's okay. Carry on up, carry on up. Oh, hold on. Right, let me take that shielding off and we'll see if that's the problem. Okay, that tool doesn't lie. And look what I found. See the 2 broken wires there, and the white wires breaking as well. So I'm gonna, and as you can see, that's been there a while. Look at the colour of that. That's as green. See if we can get you in a bit closer to have a look at that. Where is it? That is as green as you are going to get. See how green that is? So that's been like that a while. That's not a that just didn't happen. That's been like it for a little while. So what I'm going to do is cut the wires, and I'm going to solder up the wires. And I haven't had to change the lambda sensor. Mind you though, it doesn't look that old, does it? Looks like someone's already changed it. Plot thickens, doesn't it? Plot definitely thickens. Okay, so I'm going to press them a bit harder. Okay, right, I've got here, and no one touched it or played with the fuses from the time you got to the yard to the time you started it to go home. When did someone touch the fuse box before it broke down? See, I already know the answers, so I'm pressing him to get the answers, and we're all going to be happy then, aren't we? Because that's all we want it done is fixed. And I can fix it if you can tell me the truth. And then this one come through. I had taken the fuse out in the morning to try and turn the radio off fully. So that was before it fully broke down. So, and then at the next minute I've gone is nearly got all the answers now. Great help. How long has the engine management been on? Like, I haven't noticed it being on. I had it serviced a few months ago because it had been on, but after the service it went off again. Possibly they changed the lambda sensor and it worked. I'm still not so sure, because why did they change the lambda sensor? Must have been a code there, wasn't there? But they would have changed the second one. So, and why was the fuse out? The fuse is this, to say, lots of mucking about. So, there was no missing fuses. There was no magical, medicinal stuff going on in here. You know what I mean? There was no wizardry, no witches, no nothing. This was just basic testing. I mean, we could have changed the body control module. We could have changed the gateway, which is what he thought was going to have to be changed. So there's £1,000 down the drain. Could have had the lambda sensor. There's another 150 quid, isn't there? So, and I ain't changed any of that. All I've done is worked out exactly why this didn't run. And I've even worked out what actually caused it without having all the information. And that's quite difficult for us mechanics because the customers don't tell us, do they? And look how long it took me to get that. I had to ask the right questions to get the right answers. But as I say, I knew if he was telling me a lie or not, but he didn't. And I'm just going to have to say possibly the engine management light was off, but that wire looked too green. So benefit of the doubt. I mean, I really don't know, but I don't really care now because it's fixed, so it doesn't matter. So what I'm going to do is put the radio back together again. It's now working. You put the key in, it turns on. You pull the key out and it turns off. So I've changed something. Possibly it's got the right fuses in the right box. Don't know. But what I am going to do, if it does do it again, I'm going to mark the radio fuse. So he takes the radio fuse out and he puts it back in the same place, just in case the CAN bus just has a funny 5 minutes, which it might do because it's not original, it's not talking to the car, it's an aftermarket system. And as you can see, the CAN wires are going in there. and they go into the 2 cam wires there as well. These 2 wires are hot, they're powered up all the time. The earth is powered up all the time, so there's got to be something in here with a relay, and the can is telling it to turn off, and it gets confused sometimes and it doesn't. That's my answers. I know this was a long one, and I knew I was going to get to the end of it, especially after I found the first part. So I'm just going to wrap this up now. I mean, if you like watching these weird and wonderful detective movies, you want to subscribe, watch this idiot find a Wally, try and look for more things that we've got, or witches, or I don't know, some magicians. I can't even say it, can I? But I hope this helps. Just in case, don't change stuff until you found it. But say, if you want to subscribe, more than welcome. Put any comments, brilliant. Likes, yeah, have a crack at them as well. But yeah, comments, it makes me feel as though I'm not on my own. So thanks for watching. Now I've got to do this editing of the video, and I'm not looking forward to that. That probably takes me longer to do that, and it does fix the flaming car. Right, everyone have a good day. Thanks for watching.